Hi everyone, Mark here again, and in this video I thought I'd quickly show another interesting new feature of C# 7. This time we're going to have a quick look at local functions. And so as you can see, I've already got a small code snippet here. I'm going to get all the files in my documents, I'm going to get a file info of that file, and then I'm going to just format a string that's got the name, the length, and a formatted last access time. And when I run that, I see I've got a bunch of random files in that folder. Now, one of the things that we might say if we were code reviewing this is that this lambda in this select statement is getting a little bit complex, and maybe it would make the code more readable if we factored this out into a helper method. So if we said string format file info, it takes a file info, I'll call it FI just for consistency, and returns the same thing that we were returning before, then we'd be able to simplify our link statement a bit by just saying format file info. If we run that, we should get exactly the same results. And this is nice, it makes this code here more readable, but the downside of it is that now we've got another function that really only exists to serve this other function. So wouldn't it be nice if we, instead of having to declare this separately, we could somehow declare this function just in time? Now you might be thinking, can't we do that already in C# 6 with lambdas? And so we could say var format file info equals, and then put the lambda expression like that. And as you can see, I get a compile error. And the reason I get a compile error is that the C# compiler can't work out whether this is supposed to be an expression or a func. So I actually have to help the C# compiler out and say that this is a func that takes a file info and returns a string. And so we can use that, we can get rid of this if we want, and when we run this, it works. So actually, in one sense, we've already got this ability in C# 6 to have a locally declared function that we can make use of. However, what C# 7 brings is a slightly nicer syntax. So instead of this kind of having to declare a func of whatever, and this gets a bit more complicated as we add more parameters to our function, what we can do in C# 7 is declare it almost as though it were another function. So we can say returns a string, let's give it a capital letter again, and it takes a file info, and then we can literally write it just like a regular C# function. And let's get rid of this. So here I've just declared a function in line, and then I'm using it in the select statement. So let's run that, still works. You can actually, I believe, declare it after its usage. And some of the examples I've seen in the documentation, people seem to be doing that, putting it after the return statement. Personally, feels more natural to me, at least, to put it above where it's being used. Now you might say, doesn't that lose us the succinctness of the lambda syntax? And the fact is, for this function, I can actually still use the lambda syntax, so I can still do this. And so I think this is a really nice syntactical improvement. I think it looks a bit better than the declaring a func of file info comma string, but really it gets you the same thing. You can have closures around local variables that are in your function. You can keep the functions that you're using very close to the place that they're being used, which helps keep your code nice and readable. If you're a functional programmer and you've been using languages like F#, this type of thing will come very naturally to you. Instead of just using variables to store temporary values that you calculate along the way in your function, in functional programming you often make small helper functions. Often they're higher order functions so that they return functions themselves. But this new syntax in C# 7 makes that a little bit more natural in the C# language. So I'm pleased that this is in here, even though, as I've said, it was possible to do this before. So I hope you enjoy using this feature.